Okay, so we're going to go over the activities that you'll do in addition to the ones I gave you. So I'm going to go over real quick, if you do not remember from in class, activity B. We're skipping A because it's listening, and you'll do it in class. So you have les parties du corps, the parts of the body, indicate the body part that doesn't belong. You've got la cheville, les doigts, le pied, and les orteils. Les orteils is toes, although yes, you could also say les doigts, le pied. So we're going to say les doigts, the fingers, do not belong. Activité C, quel personnage? Match the correct character with each description. So, il aime taper sur sa poitrine. This is the keyword you're probably having to look up, la poitrine. That means chest. He likes beating on his chest. C'est Tarzan. D'accord? I'm going to make you pronounce these French next time when we go over it. Activité D, les associations, right? The body part associated with each item of clothing. They give une écharpe, which is la gorge, obviously. So you've got les chaussures, and you might end up writing le pied, but if we're talking about multiple chaussures, why not talk about multiple pieds? Les pieds, d'accord? So for all of the rest of them, I'm going to pause a little bit after the description so that if you want to do it right then and there, you can. So, activité F, les marques célèbres, famous brands. Looks like I've already done this one on the document for you. So you might not know all of these, but you can look it up. D'accord? But Colgate, for example, c'est un dentifrice. D'accord? So you can just write le dentifrice there. All right, go ahead and do that one. Activité H, qu'est-ce qu'il faut acheter? What is it necessary to buy? Write what each person needs to buy. There's several different ways that you can do this. D'accord? So, Amélie, so in the model, you have Marc doit laver ses cheveux. He's got to wash his hair. And you've got shampoing or une brosse à cheveux. You can also say shampooing. It depends on where you are in France, how they're going to pronounce it. So, shampoing or shampooing. So the answer is il doit acheter du shampoing. And there they chose to use the verb devoir in the present. D'accord? But you can also use it in the conditional. So let's do number one together and show you some different ways you can do it. Amélie veut être belle pour une soirée ce soir. For une soirée, c'est une fête. It's another way for another word for une fête. So we could say elle doit acheter, right? Du maquillage. She's got to buy makeup, and makeup is masculine, even though it ends in a naked E because it's asma, isma, aklanage. We could also say, Amélie devrait acheter du maquillage. She should buy makeup. So that's another choice. You can also say, Amélie a besoin d'acheter du maquillage. She needs to. That's a really nice expression to use. And I'd like you to try and use it at least once in your packet, in this activity. So you've got doit, devrait, a besoin. You can also just say straight up, il faut acheter du maquillage, because il faut, it kind of means it's necessary too, but you can use it wherever. All right. When it comes to reflexive verbs, activité J, la routine. Which activity is usually and logically done right before these activities? So number one, it says je me douche. What happens before? Est-ce que je m'habille ou est-ce que je me déshabille? Well, one of those is going to get you quite wet and not set you up for a nice day. So je ne m'habille pas avant de me doucher. D'accord? Je me déshabille avant de me doucher. And just since you guys are in French 5, when we go over this, I'm going to have you use this this prepositional phrase, avant de, to express in class when we go over it. So you would say, je me déshabille avant de, and then instead of saying je me douche, you say me doucher. I undress myself before showering. D'accord? Me still has to agree, but then you can use the infinitive after this expression, avant de. So just know in class that that's how we're going to go over it. Practice a few in your head as you're doing it. Activité K, les habitudes et les professions. complete the sentences with the present tense of the appropriate reflexive verbs. So number one, we're doing present tense. It's un chirurgien, which is a surgeon, se coupe or se lave les mains avant une opération. Which one does he do? Well, if s'il se coupe les mains, il y aura des problèmes. There will be problems. Parce qu'il va saigner. I'm going to write that word for you so you can see it. Saigner means to bleed. Il y aura du sang partout. There would be blood everywhere. So let's say instead, il se lave les mains avant une opération. D'accord? All right, go ahead and do that one. Activité N, qui parle? Who's talking? Lise or Laurent? Now, we're practicing the past tense in this one. You can probably see because you see je me suis, je me suis, je me suis. That is what you use when speaking in the past tense with reflexive verbs. Je me suis habillé, je me suis levé, je me suis séché les cheveux, etc. So Lise is obviously a girl, and Laurent is a guy, even though it might look like a female name to you. Laurent is a guy name. So who says what? You've got number one, ce matin, je me suis levé immédiatement. I got up immediately. How do we know if it's Lise or Laurent? Look at the past participle. Remember, I've told you, past participles are not verbs. They do represent the action of the verb, but they're not verbs. Suis is the verb. D'accord? So since this isn't a verb, it's a past participle, it behaves differently. It behaves sometimes like an adjective, and it's going to agree with the subject. D'accord? So it agrees back with the subject, je. So we can tell, even in a sentence with je, if it's a male or a female speaking. With je me suis levé is Laurent. D'accord? Activité O. La matinée de Stéphane et de Myriam. Stéphane is telling you how he spent his morning, so we're going to complete this. So you've got some words for clues. I'm just going to tell you that we're using the past tense here, and I'm not going to do one of these for you. I'm just going to point out some words you should know. Hier, all right, he's talking about his morning, so he gives some information about hier. I would also say instead of 11, instead of 11, I would say 23 heures as a French person. Car means as. Oh, well, I guess it tells you because, but it does mean because or as. Ce matin, you should know. Rapidement means very quickly. D'accord? Un costume is a suit. D'accord? Donc voilà. Activité P, qui est quoi? Read about Gilles, what Gilles did and answer the questions. So you see Gilles a lavé le chien qui est propre. So if he washed the dog, notice that this is not the reflexive. If we were saying Gilles washed himself, it would be Gilles s'est lavé. D'accord? So qui est propre, and if he just washed the dog, it's just the dog. Oh, interesting. All right, I see. So number one, Gilles s'est lavé avec le chien, qui est propre. Donc, il s'est lavé, mais avec le chien. So it's both Gilles and le chien that are propres. Activité Q. Les activités. Complete these sentences about students' activities at the boarding house. Remember that the past participle does not agree with its subject in the passé composé when a direct object follows it. So we talked about that in class. That's one of the rules, that the past participle agrees with the subject unless you have a direct object after it. D'accord? So, Cara s'est maquillée. You can either say ce matin or les yeux. But only one of them is possible. Cara is a girl's name. Okay, we can guess. S'est maquillée, so this should agree with her unless there's something that she is putting makeup on, a part of her body. And it looks like it's going to be les yeux. Cara s'est maquillée les yeux. Cannot be ce matin. Why? Because ce matin means this morning. It's just giving information about when. It's prepositional, or adverbial, excuse me. Donc voilà. But you'll see when it agrees and when it does not agree, that you can either put an adverbial expression after it or a a body part. Activité R, à l'appartement. You're looking at the activities of residents of an apartment building. Select the correct verb and write it in the passé composé. Pay attention to whether or not the past participle needs agreement. So you're looking, again, because remember the past participle does not agree if it's followed by a direct object. You're looking for a direct object. So number 1, ce matin, Romain et David blank les dents pendant 5 minutes. For 5 minutes. Man, dentists recommend 2, but whatever. Ce matin, Romain et David. Now, we're talking about 2 people, so it's not going to be say, it's going to be ce sont. D'accord? Ce sont, and hopefully they're not cutting their teeth because honestly, that image makes me gag. Ce sont brossés. Now, since it's Romain et David, you'd be tempted to put S. However, they're brushing their teeth, a body part. So you do not make that agree. Okay, so be careful when doing that one. Activité, looks like Ash is listening. Activité T, la petite Mathilde. Mathilde is 5 years old. Decide whether a 5-year-old girl would logically do or not do each activity. So you've got some dehydrated sentences, and they want them in the past tense. Right, affirmative sentence in the, okay. All right, so with the elements provided, so hier, comma, Mathilde. And then we want to say got up early for school. That makes sense as a 5-year-old girl. S'est réveillée. E on the end, unless there's a body part, which there's not, because tôt means early. Pour aller à l'école. So there you have it. You're going to do it just like that. So careful in number 2 because there's a body part, so you're not going to make the past participle agree. Activité U, vous et votre routine. Complete the description of your own habits. Use reflexive verbs in the present tense. So avant de venir en cours, before coming to class, je me, I might say je me brosse. I don't know, it depends. Just pretend it's before school instead of before class. Je me brosse les dents. You might even say je me lève, I don't know. But you can always add a adverb. So je me brosse les dents rapidement, especially when you're looking at the weekend. If you want to say I get up early, or I guess I stay in late, I sleep late, I get up late, etc. Étape 2, describe what you did this morning using reflexive verbs in the passé composé. So ce matin, you could say je me suis douché, je me suis lavé les dents, je me suis déshabillé, and then it gives ensuite a next. D'accord? And that's all I'm going to have you do in the packet. So let me know if you have any questions. You can contact me by email. Au revoir.